Hello and welcome to the #Tarot Songs YouTube channel. This is a channel for learning the tarot through readings, through interviews, through music, and through meditations. And my name is Danielle Guthrie, and I am the owner of Entropy Healing in Paulsville, Washington. And if you would like to find out more about my offerings or to work with me or classes or online workshops, you can check me out at entropyhealing.com. That's ENTROPY healing.com. So today we are going to talk about our reading for the solar eclipse that we have in Virgo on Sunday, September 21st. And it is the day before we move into Libra season, which is the official equinox and also known as Mabon on the wheel of the year. And so this reading, I really, even though it's in Virgo, we're really stepping into that equinox energy. And so the spread today caters to moving into that equinox energy of balance and Libra. And so as a Libra rising, I feel very connected to this season. Also having two young children who are also Libras, really connecting with the energy of this equinox and eclipse. So just getting right into it, the questions that you can ask today are, number one, what is our card? That is our card for balance. What is our core, our center in this eclipse season and moving into Libra? And I recommend that you pull your own cards for this, and then I would love to hear your comments to see how this resonates with you. Maybe if you want to rewatch it at the end of the season and see how things progressed for you, I would love to hear that feedback, and also to hear the cards that you pull for yourself. So like I said, we have first, what is our center, our anchor in this Libra? And Libra is the scales, right? It's all about balance. And so I asked on either side of that center, what are we balancing? The two oppositions. And the third question would be, on the bottom of your spread, would be what is beneath us? What is supporting us? What is kind of that undercurrent, that undertone that's maybe revealing itself and that's kind of a part of our momentum forward, but we might not necessarily be aware of it, that we can actually bring to our attention. And then our last card up at the top of your spread would be, what is our guiding light? And so let's just get right into it. Our anchor for this Libra season is the Queen of Swords. And this is the Light Series Tarot deck by Chris Ann. She just published a book that really dives even deeper into these cards, and I love her images, and I really recommend using her deck. So the Queen of Swords, you can see she is sitting up on this mountain peak, and I really want you to pay attention to down here what we have. This is one of the cups that is almost caged up, and cups represent water. So Queen of Swords, if I were to say one word for her, this is a card about our boundaries. And this, as I've talked about in our eclipse season, that we're moving through, it's like on my last reading, it was the Hanged Man, and really eclipses are this nature of not necessarily doing or pushing anything, just kind of allowing things to flow through. There's not a clear path forward. It can be very kind of foggy, and everything is in flux, and day to day could be completely different. It's really a wild card. And so I talked about that as kind of been what we've been in with this eclipse portal, but it's opening up to energy and lessons and themes for our life that are going to be progressing through the next 6 months, maybe 9 months. And so and I talked about, as we have this flow of the Hanged Man where we're kind of hanging upside down, this is a time where there are certain things that are flowing through and entering into our lives that are not new circumstances or new experiences, but they're hitting us. It's kind of familiar things, but they're hitting us in a different way. I explained it's like reading a book maybe for the 10th time, and you suddenly discover something in the book that you didn't see those first 9 times. And it's like things are clicking. There's certain epiphanies, and kind of like throwing mud on the wall and see what sticks. And there are things that are sticking. And so what Queen of Swords is here to do is she, as we're paying attention to what is sticking, it's an embodiment. So the Queen of Swords is stepping into this leadership. right? She's a court card, queens and kings. And as opposed to the kings, you know, kings can be vocal, they can be out in the public eye, and they can be kind of doing and leading and organizing. And the queen can do that too. But her leadership is emanating by being. I would say kings, there's a little bit more doing. The queen is being. So this is an embodiment of boundaries. What does it look like? You know, I associate this with our throat chakra. And swords is our thinking mind. It's our thoughts, our communication, how we express ourselves. And we express our throat through our heart, right? A joyful heart is how we're able to express our uniqueness. And so the Queen of Swords, you know, she is helping us to embody some of the boundaries, not just from other people of the external world, but also what we allow ourselves to do and say to ourselves. If this is criticism or, you know, going down maybe habits or patterns, you know, or behaviors even that we kind of know from the past, that's a no. Right? When we have boundaries, she has discovered, you know, in this archetype, I would say the Queen of Swords, she can come across as a bitch in the patriarchal, you know, view of women being, you know, more submissive or just kind of quiet. Queen of Swords is not that. She is in a leadership role. She can be very firm and can come across in shadow or as in perception as being cold, because she's able to not be emotional in her delivery. But the strength here in our Queen of Swords is that we are, our ability to uphold boundaries is because we have been through really some emotional things. Some of our difficult lessons in our relationships particularly is in this season. You know, I mentioned that cup was locked up in the cage. So because she has been through the ringer and maybe had a broken heart and had, you know, difficult things happen, she's able to use, you know, sometimes we have to process our emotional experiences before we can kind of separate ourselves from them and recognize that we're experiencing that, but we are not that. And that's another huge message in this when we get to the Six of Pentacles that I also address in my newsletter this month. So reminding us, you know, that of how we can communicate and embody. It's like we're going to be pushing up against things that are testing our boundaries. That's another thing that's happening is you can say, you know, you're going to do these things and you know, I'm going to embody and change. But when someone comes up and pushes against it, or you have, you know, a scenario in your life that challenges you, Queen of Swords is we're having an opportunity this month to kind of stand our ground. So that's kind of our center here, is, you know, this boundaries with Queen of Swords. So what are we balancing? We're balancing Nine of Pentacles upside down. And I'll show you upright so you can see it. And we're also balancing that with death and rebirth. And so because death and rebirth can really be, it can be a broad interpretation. And so I asked for a couple clarifications of death and rebirth. And so what is this death and rebirth about that we are balancing with the Nine of Pentacles? And we are balancing the King of Wands. And he was upside down too. But we're balancing that with the Four of Pentacles, which is quite interesting and pretty obvious. So let's talk about this Nine of Pentacles first. This Nine of Pentacles, you know, in our balance, we have to have boundaries when we're figuring out what our balance is. And the way you know what your boundaries are is if you go really far one way or the other, the scales tip. Very excessive, you know, if you're prone to having an all or nothing attitude, or like me, you know, if you'll work and work until to the point of burnout. You know, so there's this, what we're balancing here is pleasure and play, and then our programming and conditioning around productivity and proving ourselves, and kind of that scarcity mindset that we have to keep going and doing and preparing in case we don't get what we need when we need it, or if the rug gets pulled out from under us. And so the feeling I have is that we're all in this kind of push. The Nine of Pentacles is like, you are pushing. You might be in a season where it's like, if I just get to this deadline, then I can relax. If I just finish this project, then I can relax. Once I get through this week, then the weekend. So there's kind of this procrastination I'm feeling for us, that we kind of wait, like, once I do this, then that, then I can rest. And this Nine of Pentacles is saying, no, you don't have to wait until you finish those things on your checklist, because this is also the Virgo moon leaning into Libra, and Virgo is about kind of those checklists and strategizing and doing. And she's saying you can, what we're being asked now is, part of our boundaries is saying, how can we make time and enforce pockets in these pushes, these sprints, our busyness, our fullness, when our schedule is full, when our responsibilities feel heavy. How can you schedule pockets of time, and when you're actually in those pockets of time, actually being present for them? So I'm gonna give you an example of something that came up for me, and I think hopefully this is helpful for you. I always learn through other people's examples. And for example, so Nine of Pentacles, I also pulled this for myself today. And so I know I was meant to talk about this, but currently sometimes my husband goes into the city and I have my 3 kids. I get them ready for school, do the lunches, take them to school, get myself ready for work, all the things, and preparing for my son's birthday party tomorrow. A big 9-year-old birthday party. And so there's, the cleaning of the house, the preparing of the food, and, all the things. And so for me, that pocket of pleasure and that time, there was about half an hour in the morning where I could vacuum, which is something that I need to do, or I could take that half hour and I could use it to do my own yoga and stretching to prepare myself and ground myself for an evening event that I'm hosting this evening. So it's like this balance of how are you going to use these small pockets of time. And, if we are to recognize the places where, if you get stuck in that productivity, I have to be accountable to people. I have to do this. If I felt obligated, I had to force myself to become aware that to listen to my body, to the Queen of Swords, like I said, embodiment. What is my body? What would feel good? What would rejuvenate me in this small pocket of time? And can I engage in that without feeling like, oh, I should be over here. I should be over here. No, you pick it and you do it. Queen of Swords is not wishy-washy. And so this Nine of Pentacles is reminding us to kind of in those little moments of time that you can choose to do that thing of pleasure. And those little times, if it's in the car where you decide to just put the windows down, and I've talked about this, the self-care, this is self-care. Self-care doesn't have to be spending money and going out and doing, big girls trips, or, renting some huge VRBO and spending all this money, or, whatever, it can be. This is our reminder that in our day-to-day, these are pentacles, this is earth energy. It's like in our day-to-day routines that we can be more open to these pockets of pleasure and play, and gifting yourself that belief that you are deserving of abundance. You are deserving of that self and care. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to explain it. You are. And there's a lot of this, with Queen of Swords, where we feel like maybe we have to explain and hold ourselves accountable to others, that we're going to disappoint people. This is what's beneath us. I'm going to flip forward a little bit. This 10 of Cups also is upside down. What's beneath us is some of how we show up in our relationships. That kind of might be holding us, like keeping the scale kind of imbalanced. Like we're afraid that we're going to disappoint others, or we're not going to uphold what we said we were going to do. Or maybe we change our mind and we're not sure that that's okay. And so 10 of Cups is here to say, actually, if you embody some of those boundaries that you're putting for yourself and do that for yourself, the fear of that upsetting your relationships might be bigger than the actual upset. It's like, just this is reminding us that you can lean into, actually our relationships might be more supportive than we think. And also to lean into, people who are going to support us in the things that we need to do for ourselves. If there are people who are expressing jealousy or anger or questioning you, you might have to stand up for yourself, but also that's kind of a sign, this death and rebirth is what we're balancing. There might be some removal of these people who have you kind of kept in the storms rather than the rainbows, people who are uplifting you in your own rainbows. And recognizing, when you're caring for yourself, that they're supportive of that. And so in this, death and rebirth, it is this death of this, like I say, feeling like we have to kind of do, and it's our mindset, and actually living that frequency. So I'm going to explain that in a second. But, the death of Four of Pentacles, this is that root, this is scarcity. It's like clinging to our purse. It's like, I'm going to keep what's mine and I'm going to protect it. And I'm going to do these things like just in case. I'm going to be prepared for the unexpected and always one step ahead, so that, because if I do find myself, not prepared, or people are disappointed, or I feel overwhelmed because I chose to do this thing for fun instead of what I really thought I needed to do for my agenda, that if we do those things like that, we're not going to be okay. This is an imbalanced sense of security and safety, like the clinging to of the things. Sometimes with our productivity, it's like, why are we actually working that hard? Do we need to go pay for this thing so that we can then pay for this and then pay for this, so that we can have these, burn ourselves out so we can go have that big vacation? There is this, the Four of Pentacles is really kind of that deeper rooted call to ground. And the King of Wands, like I said, what is death? What is that about? It's kind of that death and rebirth of, so the Four of Pentacles, like allowing that need to hold on to everything, to be more giving in ways that replenish you. To balance that with the King of Wands. And the King of Wands, he is the entrepreneur. He is fiery. This energy, it's interesting with the Queen and the King in here. The King of Swords is, he makes his own way. He doesn't have to explain himself, and he trusts that his path is unique, and how he does it is going, if it works for him, then that's really all that matters. Because when you show up for yourself, then you are actually able to show up for others. You are actually there to support people emotionally because you know how to support yourself. Because you physically take care of yourself, you can physically be there for others when they need that. So the King of Wands is not really concerned what everybody else is doing. There's this, that's part of that death for us in this reading is, kind of like this concern of like comparison, but they do it this way. The King of Wands does it his way. So stepping into your own power of, this is how I choose to do it. And, it's not to say that you're not going to mess up, because the King of Wands, he's on this journey. It's not very clear. It's this open desert. You might figure out you go one direction and then you have to like pivot and go backwards because there's no water, So there is this, in this balancing of scales, kind of figuring out that line of exploring what that means for you. So lastly, our guiding light. I just love this. This was my card that I've been writing about for the newsletter for quite some time. I have some wonderful resources in my newsletter, and I will put some links in here to a couple other podcasts that directly talk about abundance and prosperity and the root chakra. But the Six of Pentacles, this is our guiding light of giving and receiving. And because we're showing up and we're guided to show up, our light is to show up for ourselves in a different way, that we're going to begin to emanate that out and attract. So I talk about, this is also an energy, we hear about the law of attraction and manifestation, and all of the books, and the people out there telling you I can help you make money quick because I've mastered the law of attraction. And so this kind of is that. And I love one of the podcasts that I was referring to is Michael Beckwith. He just did an episode on prosperity. And I've been doing this exercise too. So what I'm going to talk about here is our guiding light is when we say, so our thoughts, we have Queen of Swords as our center, right? She's connected to our thoughts. And so in the Six of Pentacles, our thoughts are kind of like the activation that grow our physical energy in our body. Pentacles connects us to our body. It is our physical embodiment and how we kind of move through the world and the physical reality of our life. And so when we manifest, we're bringing in our intention, and this is witchcraft. It's not some evil thing. This is what witchcraft is you set an intention, you plant a seed, and you release it out into the universe. And you trust that it's going to come back in some form. And you release the control of how that's going to come back to you, but you trust that because you are choosing to be in that frequency, that's what you're going to attract. So if you say, I am tired, I am burnt out, I am busy, that is the frequency that those are the beliefs about who you are. You're saying, I am this thing. So you are vibrating and moving through the world at this belief that that's who you are. And as you come across other people and situations, this is a vibration, and this is science and music, which is my background in music. And when you're vibrating at that frequency, as you come across other people, the other people who are also vibrating at that frequency, you're going to attract each other. And so you're going to attract what keeps you busy. You're going to attract what makes you tired. If it's from, if maybe this is from, people pleasing, because you have people in your life that you feel like you have to constantly do and support, out of like obligation. And if there's no joy in it and you just feel like it's draining you, if you that can be also a vibration that you're vibrating at, is that you're allowing that to happen, and so you're going to keep attracting it. So with the Six of Pentacles, is when you say I am, that is what you're choosing to vibrate at. So in this balance with Libra, the balance and the Six of Pentacles, the sixes, in tarot also will take, it's like an expansion and a recalibration of similar scenarios, but you're responding in a different way than you have in the past. So how have you expanded so that when you come across situations that you've already come across, that you're going to choose a different way and be in a new vibration. So if you are saying, instead of saying I am tired, I am busy, you can say I am feeling busy, I am experiencing tiredness. And to balance that, this is something I've been doing and trying to embody, be the queen. And then, so you have that on one side, but on the other side of the scale, you balance it. If you say, I'm feeling this, I am is the balance that keeps you centered and rooted. The Queen of Swords that is rooted. You acknowledge that this is happening, but who are you? I am full of life force energy, right? If you're saying I'm tired, you balance it with I am full of life force energy. If you say, I am really tired. I am overwhelmed with all of with these people in my life, right? I'm pissed at them, whatever it may be. I am angry. You say I am angry. This is actually a big thing. I feel like there's been some fire that's moving through, because fire is really just grief being expressed. Finally, you're like, this is enough, my boundaries. So if you say I am angry, so instead you can say, I am feeling pissed at you. I am experiencing fire. You know, I'm experiencing this, but who am I? Are you those things? No, you are not anger. I am centered in calmness, or I am surrendering to peace. You know, so there's this balance. And so I find that this is very helpful, and this is addressed in that podcast I was talking about, but this is our overarching guiding light. And so as you come across all these other themes, kind of use that as a simple, there is this, you know, kind of slowing down of time. We have 3 pentacles in here. Pentacles is earth energy. It is slower. In order for us to balance, you know, this Libra air where we get into our head and we get into the drama of our relationships, or, you know, worrying about the future, or, you know, worrying about the past and chasing and running away from ways we don't want to be. That's so much air, and the earth is here now to ground us, to center us. And as I'm speaking, I'm looking at this picture behind me, which is this painting is from Robert Salem of Your Heart's Drum, who I've done some wonderful events with. If you check out my earlier podcast interview with him, we talk all about the call of Mother Earth, that we're starting to feel that in our heart of connecting to that earth energy. So if you're not sure what, you know, grounding is, what earth energy is, what does that even mean? I hope that this is helpful, and I hope that also some of the links that I'll post are helpful. And be sure that you sign up for my newsletter so that I can keep you up to date. I always do the energetics and a short little reading in my newsletter, but I also have events that are coming up, and you know, I have some online things in the works. So if you're not in the Paulsbo area, that's okay, because there'll be more things available soon. So happy new moon, and I will talk to you next time.